2. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Post Plant. We've been gone for a little bit, but we've been trying to collect data to be able to show you some pretty informational stuff. We received some feedback saying that you guys would love to see a lot more storylines. So we're gonna do an NA storyline of what happened in the last Game Changers, and it was very, very, very spicy. It was surprising to see. C9 was struggling a lot, honestly.
Yeah, that I low key kind of predicted it the last episode. Not really say like I think I said something along the lines of, oh, they probably won't win. They did end up winning, but they did not win flawlessly.
Yeah.
With Shopify Rebellion, especially at the big milestone, actually putting them down to the lower bracket, which Twitter blew up. I didn't even know what happened because I wasn't watching that day until I saw Mel tweet out like something that suggested that they lost, and I was like, wait, no, and I had to scroll all the way down to see everything that happened. It was a very, very interesting day on Twitter.
Mm-hmm. It was. Oh. Yeah. Zahk, you got anything to say?
Yeah, I mean, I was watching that particular match and I was just in shock because I've never seen C9 really get red before. They always seem to be the people who are doing the reading, but a lot of those games, it seemed like Shopify, they just counter-shotted them so well. And this is a trend that I notice across regions. I think right now the only undefeated Game Changers team is EMEA's G2 Gozen, I believe. Every other team that has been dominating so far, they've dropped to the lower bracket, and I think that's pretty good for the Game Changer scene overall because it shows that other teams are also getting on their level, so as to speak.
Dang. Okay, she's bringing out the facts. Okay. But yeah, continuing on looking at, I believe we actually have the bracket. Delta, if you have that, I don't know.
We do.
We do have the brackets of what happened, what's going on. But you can see that a lower bracket run done by C9, but we have like 3 unsigned teams making it to the top 8, which is pretty surprising. Mm-hmm. Dart Monkeys didn't even make it past the lower bracket run. They struggled a lot, which is like you're the top unsigned team, and then all of a sudden, you can't beat another unsigned team.
Well, yeah. I mean, it wasn't just any unsigned team, though. It was Sanrio's. Yeah, so true. Sanrio's and Ariana Grande Perfume were kind of the just teams that came out of nowhere for this event. And Sanrio's in particular, I kind of call them a team of Zoomers. Well, both of those teams, actually. And so they've just been able to upset and surprise people with their youth. And Dart Monkeys able to take those 2 maps off of them to kick them out of the lower brackets. So that was quite a run from them.
Mm-hmm. As well as like Sanrio's and Dart, Ariana Grande Perfume aren't even like that old in terms of like history compared to I think every team on here. So it was definitely an asset. I know a lot of the players, they've been in the competitive scene for longer than the team itself, but
yeah,
it's interesting to see how like a group and a particular pairing can carry you.
Yeah, true. Like I've seen a lot of the players individually compete a lot, and a lot of them are, individually cracked. So in their own special way. So seeing them put together definitely plays a factor in that, as well as they probably just clicked, a lot better with most of them having the experience. So yeah, it's not really surprising to see, but definitely cool. Seeing how well they played out in this tournament.
Well, you mentioned time being a factor, and it wasn't just time. So time worked for these 2 teams in particular. So Ariana Grande Perfume and Sanrio's only getting together with the last few events and even like the last Game Changers Academy where they made like a debut that we were able to keep track of. But teams that time didn't work out for, they didn't even make it into the playoffs. So, for example, CLG Red, and we had Complexity, GX3, GX3 2.0, I think is what they were going by.
Yeah.
Since they had their roster changes, they hadn't been a roster for too long. And so you could definitely feel them trying to work out the kinks of their roles and whatever else was going on to attempt to become a better team. But it didn't work out for them in the end.
Yeah, actually, I was about to bring up CLG Red too, because they didn't do so hot. And I think, I don't know if it was I had a conversation with you guys or somebody else, but like I was wondering where the hell is CLG? Because the last time they played was like Game Changer Series 1, and I haven't seen them at all. So like I don't know what they're doing behind the scenes. I don't know if like they're scrimming really hard, but TSM is a team that I hear all the time, like talking about Dart Monkeys, talking about Immortals. Like these are teams that are consistently playing in these tier 2, tier 1 tournaments, whatever. But CLG, they kind of disappeared into the abyss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've noticed that too.
One thing that I was really looking forward to was that I really liked, in fact, was the hype that they really created around their Game Changers teams this time. Like those videos that they made about individual players, and they pointed out a couple of teams. And again, that's another thing that was really surprising to me because both Genji as well as like you mentioned COG, they were hyped up to be like these big contenders. They were so excited about beating C9 White and saying that they were coming for the top spot and. Yeah, that was just a sad whimper that never really surfaced. But the fourth team that was in those hype trailers apart from C9 White and these two, Shopify Rebellion. Now they are looking much better these days. In fact, I think it's, like you mentioned right off the bat, this is the first time that C9 White has been struggling. And sure, you might say that it's because of the fact that they have a new player and they might be having like adjusting troubles and stuff, and that could be a factor. But nevertheless, more than C9 White looking weak, I would say that it's Shopify Rebellion looking incredibly strong, and especially you have to talk about Sonder. That is one player that really stood out to me in this entire event.
So C9 White made sure not to blame the roster change for their kind of weak state. They had a press conference, and one of the questions was like, what do you attribute you having a little bit of a rough time this go around? And Mel said something to the effect of they didn't really anticipate all the teams being able to catch up that quickly, especially Shopify Rebellion. So they wanted to make it sound like they weren't blaming their new coach or their new member and the kind of adjustment pains that some of the other teams are going through. So they put more of the stock on the other teams doing their best to improve rather than their issues.
Yeah, and honestly, what I was saying now, like Shopify is pretty much the only team that has like gotten C9 like close to losing a map. And they're one of the only teams that brought them to like double digits in a match before. So I'm not totally surprised that they caught up and finally was able to take a series from them. Obviously in the end it did end up with C9 winning out the whole entire thing. But I've seen the improvement since way before. Like I had a feeling it was gonna come, if not from them, then definitely from someone else who has played against C9 enough to probably do the anti-stratting and to read them thoroughly and properly.
I think, like, following up on the discussion of improvement, like, even though Dart Monkeys didn't really get, like, a hot run, I do, in all honesty, think they have Curry Shot now, I believe, as their coach, and they actually improved a lot, like, beating Dig after they literally lost to Dig a week ago. I think that was, that was a month or so ago, but it's the week-long improvement that they, like, they really put in that effort. So I think that's going to pay off. And with like Shopify and C9, the question is like, is it too late for Shopify? And that was a really big discussion people were having because Bob isn't even fully comfortable yet in that roster. Like there's still so many things that maybe Bob isn't implicating their own playstyle yet because they have to get used to everybody else's and things like that. So I think, Bob is a pretty strong, player, and the moment that Bob gets comfortable, I think it might be game over.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, we have seen Bob because Bob used to be on Sonics, but then every now and then she would pop into other teams and some of the smaller tournaments. But I think since it was, just her filling in and these teams were either brand new or, not really established, she could really do whatever she wanted to do. But now she's on a more established team, so it's probably going to take a little more time for not only her to adjust to C9's playstyle, but for C9 to adjust to her playstyle and like compromise and stuff. But also... this Game Changers has been, I'll say for me, from what I saw, I couldn't watch everything, but from what I did see, it felt a lot more competitive. It felt a lot more like everyone was doing a lot better than what we've seen before, because we have seen a couple of game changer series where one team or like these three teams are dominating against these other teams because some of them are new, some of them just don't have like that experience. But now we see all these returning teams coming back stronger and better. Even the ones that we have seen in the past who used to dominate now aren't really doing as much, but it still has been like really competitive and really overall just really good games and not total wipeouts, and very entertaining at that.
That's a really good point, because a lot of the time when you look at the matches that happen between the teams, they're very one-sided. Their scores like 13-6, 13-2, everything. But if you take the grand finals, for example, like I know Shopify lost, but all the games that they lost were incredibly close. They were either 13-11s or overtime. And the game which they won, that was the game that was actually like, of all the games in that entire series, that was the only one that could be called like a sort of dominant victory, like a 13-7. So it definitely shows that they have improved a lot, and I'm really looking forward to seeing if they will finally be the ones to be able to, what's the word for it? Dethrone C9 White there. Incredible improvement.
Yeah, it's actually, and I think all that time of them being in those grand finals or like with them, it just has prepared them for for this moment, and then it should prepare them for the future competitions. So definitely hoping to see that unfold in the next Game Changers tournament.
It's going to be interesting.
Very interesting. Twitter is going to be more on fire than it was last time.
I think they're making a better storyline. I think Shopify, and not just because I love whoever's doing their Twitter, because the person on the Twitter is just hilarious, and I'm in love with them. Whoever you are, please let me know. But I think in general, like, the whole team is just immaculate and amazing, and they're hard workers. Kpsy has me cracking up half the time with their tweets too. So like, you can tell there, of course, even though like there's some rivalry going on with like C9 and Shopify, it's definitely like it's fun in games. Like, this is at the end of the day, it's a video game, so like nothing too personal. But continuing on, talking a little bit more in depth about C9 struggle this Game Changers, and I mean, even though they did win it outright like 3-1, still the games were fairly close. And starting off at the beginning of their long-term struggle, they had to FF over the open walls.
That was
because of something going on. Not necessarily sure what that was, but
it was like it was like a miscommunication, sort of, kind of like I think both parties had their wrongs, and to combine it became this thing. So basically, I believe one of the members or one of the coaches were late, and they communicated that, but then something happened on the other end of the telling them that they were going to be late. So instead of giving them some time to get their bearings together, they just forfeited. They made them forfeit their match against Immortals, and people were kind of upset, especially the teams, because I think everyone wanted to see C9 versus Immortals, because Immortals is also another one of those teams that are doing a lot and showing a lot of competition, and really racking up the numbers and everything in this series. So DC Mel's tweet talking about the forfeit, and I think they kind of got it resolved, but they still had to forfeit the match. But eventually, I believe we did get to see C9 versus Immortals later down the line.
I think that the fact that they had to forfeit because of that misunderstanding, it was really unfortunate for not just Immortals and people who wanted to watch that particular match, but also I feel really bad for all the teams in that lower bracket, because it just completely messed up their chances of making it through that closed qualifier.
Because
the casualties.
Because when you're in lower bracket, like you everyone wants to win, but you have to be realistic. If your team just started 2 months ago, the chances of you beating a team like C9 or even Sanrio's is pretty slim, but you can try your best to make it as far as possible. But with C9 dropping to the lower bracket and you happen to be facing them, I hate to say it, but it's kind of a GG's at that point. You can try your best, but the chances are slim, But so seeing that happen for the lower bracket teams, I think even C9 probably felt bad that this happened, because they also in the back of their head like, oh man, we're facing these not so experienced teams.
I mean, you say not experienced, but they actually kind of destroyed the lower bracket with the well-known teams. So I would argue.
I mean, what's it called? Not like less experienced, but like most of the time when we see lower bracket, there are like either the less experienced teams or the teams that are like known, but they haven't really gotten like those top 3 finishes,
Well, because I would argue that Misfits Black would have made it into the playoffs had
Yeah, sure.
Cloud9 White not dropped into the lower bracket.
I
So
agree.
both Gen G Black and Misfits Black kind of got screwed because of that lower bracket placing. But Misfits Black looked, I mean, Gen G Black was looking a little bit rough, unfortunately, and so they've made roster changes to, I guess, try to fix that as of recent. But Misfits Black looked really good, and they didn't even have Fluorescent on the team yet. So that's part of the storyline. I can tell that will be very strong next time. The emergence of Fluorescence into the game changer scene and how dominant that team will become with her as well as Grego as the new coach.
Yeah, and speaking of Misfits, the story of C9 just having a terrible run it does not end because Misfits took a map, and that's surprising because this roster is still in the making.
Yeah,
And
basically.
it's basically raw. They completely wiped their roster and started from scratch almost, and Misfits took a map. It was on Fracture. I would plead that maybe Fracture isn't C9's best map. Maybe that's just me, but performance wise,
You can say that. They had to
it's
struggle on Fracture.
it's a hit or miss. It's a hit or miss on Fracture for C9 a lot of the time, and it really was it was kind of a struggle, just because you had a lot of it being I think we actually have some clips there, the Misfits versus C9. But there was a lot of overextension. There was a lot of mistakes made from C9's part, and I'm sure maybe it was because they weren't really having the best day. Because I think that was also the day that they went on that lower bracket run. But coming into that, you can see Katsumi going a little bit overboard, and there's the first pick there from Jazzy, and it just seems like a lot of impatience, a lot of wanting to get those picks, a lot of ego almost, and a team as strong as this one, they definitely knew at the end of the day they were going to win it out, but just it definitely felt like they were a little bit off their game here, and I'm sure they knew that because I think they said it at some point, but definitely.
Yeah, and it's understandable. I think it's a mixture of them, not having the best day in terms of that forfeit decision, but also maybe it could have been maybe a slip in the ego you mentioned, oh, lower bracket, we got this, but then as we saw before, these teams have been kind of sort of heavy hitting the way we least expected it to, so maybe that kind of threw them off a little bit, and that's why they had a little bit of a rough time there. But yeah, it was kind of interesting to see that matchup because it was I was scared for a second. I was kind of scared. I was like, is Memphis gonna win against C9 right now? It's is this gonna happen? Are we gonna see a 2-1?
Nah, I definitely knew out of this clip actually that I clipped right there. I definitely knew C9 was gonna win because that was a solid hold.
Yeah.
They're not a team that's uncoordinated. It was just there was so many mishaps where Mel was overextending and she would get picked off immediately with the op. And she even said herself on her Twitter, I think, I didn't get a screenshot of this, but she was oh, I finally started really kicking in that third game. And the op just wasn't working. She was getting out-aimed a lot of the time where she was having, I think I put a picture of a photo example. I don't know if you can do that because that's a Discord app attachment. But she ended up really peeking out. Yeah, right there. Her shoulder was popping out. The positioning was weird. And it was a lot of this that happened where she moved at the wrong time. The timing was off. She was in the wrong position.
Yeah.
And it sucked. You could definitely tell there was something going on. So Mel picked it up immediately. And I was
I'm glad she did pick it up immediately because I noticed that when in these competitions, if you realize something's not working, you just gotta scrap it up as soon as possible and try to fix that. Because if she knows the op's not working, a lot of people I know would probably be no, I'm gonna keep buying up, I'm gonna get this shot right. They're so head first on that. But if she recognized it, tried something new, I'm pretty sure they probably talked it out a little bit and they wrapped it up in the last game.
I mean, I think that looking at this particular Game Changers, it's probably Mel's weakest performance yet. Usually you're used to seeing her being an absolute beast on either that controller or that chamber, but or even the Cypher. She does play that on assets, but I think this time around she just struggled quite a bit. Like Gompers mentioned, there was a lot of overextension, but more than that, I feel all of C9 they were really struggling with positioning quite a bit. They just were not in the right place at the right time, and they kept getting caught off guard quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Ugh.
A lot of
But-
things to consider, a lot of factors, you know.
Yeah, Zoe actually killed it too. I'm not gonna lie, Zoe was like on fire. Zoe was on something, and I think that Zoe, with the addition of Fluorescent, I think that team is gonna dominate next Game Changers. Because I think Fluorescent's hitting. Yeah, I think Fluorescent's hitting the age, and once we see like Zoe, because they did have, I think that like highlight MVP. They were killing it. They were getting MVPs pretty much almost every game. Look at that. Like the ACS, everything looking really good. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to see what Zoe has in store for sure.
I think another player for Misfits in particular that I really like watching is Vernina. So she was fantastic on all three maps, and especially that first map. Along with Zoe, I think that she, along with Zoe, were really instrumental in getting that game in their pocket because it was an incredibly close game, and a lot of the rounds it was these two players who were really clutching it out and getting those first frags, or just being able to make sure that the round swayed gradually in their favor. Like you wouldn't have seen a lot of insane clutches like a 1v4 or 1v5, but overall these two were just so instrumental in like sliding the balance over in Misfits' favor on Fracture there.
100%.
Yeah, Misfits definitely going to surprise us next time. But guys, it doesn't end there for C9. It
No
really
way.
doesn't. Guys, guess what? They managed to lose against Shopify and then go to the lower bracket, as we can tell. So, you know, Shopify, I believe actually that Days put some clips in there as well, but these are some pictures. You know, the players of C9 could definitely tell there was something going on. And they were like, we made a lot of mistakes. We're not going to do them again. But even then, like, coming into the grand finals, they still had a really close game against Shopify.
Yeah.
So I don't think it was the mistakes. I think, like, giving a little bit more respect to your opponents and being like, they really did improve. And, like, they're gonna keep improving. We gotta go at a faster rate at this point.
Yeah, and it's basically just science at this point. We've seen it in the main VCT bracket with Sentinels. Like you only saw Sentinels every single game, just like dominating, winning out everything. But then just right after the first Masters, you see them not first place, and then after that, not first place, and then they're also struggling because people are just catching up. You know, when you're in the spotlight so long and you play against the same teams for a long time, you will get, you know, what happens here, and, you know, anti-stratted or just red prop like more often, and this is what we saw here, and we see the scores here. Everyone on Shopify just really just like, you know, putting in the work in order to get that done.
Yeah. No, but if you, I think in the clips Delta, there's actually some things that Dave
Oh,
put in
okay.
there of the actual like thing going on. My wording is terrible, but with yeah, it's not good. But like, I'm interested because I wanted to watch these with you before I watched them actually. But straight up,
And little push to the A site, but they get hit by the fade. Util, wall gets broken, omen flash, boom. You're alone, but you Mel dies. Misses all those shots. Unlucky for her, but the A side's completely taken. So now easy plant 5v4, 4v4 actually. Jazzy finally gets that kill onto her counterpart. I haven't casted in a long time, guys. Kind of
yeah, because he's having her high right now. Like she's.
Feeling it.
Yeah, but I think right here, I think maybe Days clipped this because of like just the pure push that Shopify had, the like how interesting it was, because the tether there gained a lot of information, but instead of backing off and playing for their life a little bit more, you could see that I believe it was Mel there. I can't really see.
Yeah,
Mel.
it was Mel.
Yeah, Mel actually playing on the Omen, interestingly enough, and not the Chamber. By the way, let's focus on that. But she blinded. She didn't play her life. She ended up taking a 1v5, and in all honesty, maybe that wasn't the best choice.
Yeah, she took the 1v1 miss, but then tried to run away with her. I don't think she expected the teammates to swing off because the Viper was just solo, so she probably thought, I can get that run away real easy. But they got that trade pretty quickly. I think if they didn't run out there, she probably would have ran into Maze and would have held them out a little bit. And see, blinds, misses the shot, runs away, but doesn't expect the double swing, and she's out. Side's clear.
Nah, I don't know, because it's a little hard. Like, the tether got so much. You could see that it definitely found at least, like, 3 to 2 people. So with that information, you know they're going for that mid-push, because you got the Sage Wall, you got 2 tethers, you have the fact that you can hear multiple footsteps. I think right there, it's a dangerous situation. Even if you get the paranoia through, it could have most definitely gone like the other way. But I think heavily relying on like aim there for Mel and seeing as like I have my blind, so like I have the advantage here. But at the end, just couldn't hit the shots. But I think Shopify, you can tell they're implementing a lot of like new strats.
Yeah, for sure. Like with this wall that they have, it helps them not only cross to the orb helps them cross to mid, but also gives them a little bit of cover in like the small corner there if they need to use it, and then just blocks off the rest of A side accordingly to how they're pushing. So yeah, that was good pistol strat. I like that. I like the little mid push on the pistol round.
I think they expected the players from C9 to do what they usually do, which is play aggressively on site, which is either A or B. So they realized that mid was basically free, and that was a really good read coming in from them.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
yeah, a lot of work going into really preparing for C9. At this point, I feel like Shopify Rebellion, they've played enough games against this team to know exactly how they work. And while you can't really account for everything, you can still manage to deal with the basics, and their basics are so strong right now.
Yeah, I think so too. Is this the second clip? Oh,
Yeah,
it's
it
the
is.
second clip. Let's see what happens here. My gosh, it's like a watch party. If you guys are listening on Spotify, I'm so sorry.
True. Just imagine it. Just imagine it.
I was wondering because like Flat Chat, I think they have like those clips of the days or whatever, like at the end of their thing, and you just listen and you're like, what's going on?
Alright, let's see. Oh, wait, no, what are you looking at? Oh, she gets picked off for technically free, but there's the trade from Bob. There's some more kills happening here and there, so it's a 3v4. So let's see what happens here. They're just holding spikes on top of 410. So it's kind of a struggle, and no one knows who's holding where, but the bold move coming out from the Sova gonna take that peek and use the wall to their advantage, actually. So they'll not get the spike. That shock dart gonna help out, and they're just dropping like flies, and now it's a 1v2 all of a sudden.
Kpsy's like our text to speech for this. like vividly describing everything going on so that the people who aren't watching right now can listen in.
See how I help the people, you know?
You're a big people helper. Yeah, this play. I'm so sorry, Zach.
It's fine. I was just gonna say that's like the hallmark of a good caster, is so that even if people are blind or they're not looking at the game, they can still like figure out what's going on. And yeah, that was a pretty good way to say it. It's fine. I like that. I like the hype you gave it. The 1v2 moment. It got me a bit excited.
Yeah, but the entry there, I think, yeah, like right here, you could definitely see Shopify like taking a completely different approach. Because before, I feel like a lot of the time I saw C9, you know, they have a lot of respect for the opposing teams. I wouldn't say like, even if they're playing against Misfits, they definitely kept like a level of respect. But more so this team, Mel played on the Omen. I guess they figured that there wouldn't be as much aggression just because Mel is a very aggressive chamber. And they love getting that first-hand pick on the op. They love holding these aggressive angles. So, like, Jazzy on that and mostly being that duelist and not having a duelist role, I feel like they kind of try to abuse that a little bit. Okay, there is an erase here. No nades to worry about. So, I think they took advantage of that.
That's a good point. Like, having the double initiator comp, well, I guess on both sides, but you can see in this play in particular how well Benita is being added to the squad. Like, you talked about disrespect. So Benita, not just in game, but even out of game, you can see how much she's just like, I don't care who they are, C9 white or whatever, I'm just gonna play my game and just trash through whoever. And so you can see that in this play in particular, but
that was a nice play, though.
Her in combination with KP, I mean, you don't really even need a duelist. You just have just the strength and the guts to make plays like this, and it worked out in their favor to win that series.
For sure. And Benita does switch from like the Sova role to the Reyna role. Like, she's very versatile, so she has like the confidence to play duelist style with the Sova, just like how she did there. Use the shock dart as the little damage there, get that finishing kill with the rest of the bullets, and then just have that confidence and the aim to do so. So it's a really nice play, but am I surprised she did it? Not necessarily, because that's something Benita would do, from what I've
So,
seen.
Benita is the IGL, right? If I'm not wrong, or is some this is
I think her
It's
and
KP,
KP are
yeah.
co-IGLing.
I
Because
think-
KP was the main IGL, but then Benita was the IGL before of CLG, so I guess they're kind of sharing that role.
I'd assume
I-
that KP is the main role, but Benita's helping under the circumstance, like
Yeah.
like how Bob is assisting. I feel like because they said they needed a good secondary voice, so I feel like that's what Benita is for Shopify.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that Shopify picked her up because I remember watching her saying watching a video where she was saying that initially she was planning to retire after her run with CLG, but she was really depressed. She was really annoyed. I wouldn't say depressed. She was really annoyed about how that run didn't really pan out. So when she got picked up by Shopify, she really believed that this was a team that she could push to the forefront, that she could really make a powerhouse out of. And
Yeah.
well, I'd say so far she's succeeding.
Yeah, 100%. Because that I think because Benita's always been like, I've always talked about her being like a cool, calm, collective player. Like she doesn't really tilt. She doesn't really get too confident, too cocky. She's just very like calm and collective and everything in her plays, even with it, both on CLG and also now on Shopify. So I think her taking what she's done with CLG and putting that to Shopify, I think that's definitely helped them. Because I remember in another interview she said something where like when she's IGLing for CLG, she's the main one trying to make sure everyone else is also cool, calm, and collected, and everyone else is not really getting tilted or frustrated, and they focus on just playing their game. So I think adding that to Shopify's already pretty structured base is definitely helping them in the long run.
Yeah, at the end of the day, though, I mean C9 making it 3-1. So even though they didn't have the best run, I think it definitely gave them a different scenario in Game Changers, and I feel like they're going to take it a lot more seriously now instead of like being like, oh,
Free money.
Yeah. I definitely feel like they're going to have to expect maybe something a little bit more, because I do believe actually in an interview, I don't know if it was Jazzy or someone else, I believe it was Jazzy, that they said, well, probably not expecting the win next time and maybe being a little bit more like, focused or something like that. But I definitely think that this was a wake-up call that C9 needed. Shopify's on your tail. Pick it up a little bit faster because things are going to get a little bit, harder as things go on. We're talking about a LAN here. And of course, I mean, Shopify and C9 are definitely like my LAN picks because I don't think anybody else is going to be able to surpass that. But it's just interesting to see.
Well, I mean, so recall for the third Game Changer series, both in NA and in EMEA, the third series winner automatically gets a ticket to the championship. So it's a bit do or die here, because if either team doesn't win the event, then that's gonna shake up like who's gonna be eligible to go. So Shopify Rebellion would need to win so if they win, they clearly get a spot. If Cloud9 White win, then they clearly get the spot. But then the next person that goes is the person with the highest score. So things can still be shaken up based on that ruling.
I think either way, these teams have the highest scores. Whoever wins and gets to go to LAN and gets a rematch. I cannot wait to have the discussion of like pick'ems and who we think is gonna win internationally, because that will actually be like so fun to do and discuss.
I'm hyped. I'm super hyped for that.
I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't know if C9 is gonna win internationally. I think C9 is gonna make it far.
I know this might be controversial, but I would probably bet on what's their name? Gozen? I would probably bet on Gozen, G2 Gozen to win an international LAN, at least right now, but I might be wrong. And, that's what my head says, but my heart will always say alter ego.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I was going to say alter ego. To be honest with you, listen, alter ego, not a lot of people listen to, like, those types of regions, but they're not, they got fire in them. I got to be honest with you. I think those regions are going to really surprise us.
Oh, I'm really excited for which team is going to be making it out of APAC. I'm very sad that APAC only gets one slot because the matches in APAC are generally much more closer than most of the games in EMEA and NA. So I would have loved it if we had like at least two slots for APAC,
Yeah,
but you
I
never
kind
know,
of
they might change their mind.
yeah, I kind of see it as like I think maybe if they are convinced, they probably would change it. But I think the reason why it's been like the spots are so low is because it's the first game changers line that's going to occur. So they probably just want to make it something like
Test the
test
waters.
it out. Yeah, test the waters, see what happens, and not give like too many people too many spots because then if it's not as competitive, then people are gonna just not really take it seriously watching it. So I think giving those one spots and like having it actually might make a lot for really good entertainment because think about it like APAC, the only team representing APAC, will they win this game or will they lose this game and then be out of this bracket? You know what I mean? So that'll definitely be like good storytelling wise. I do wish though that there were what's it called, more teams in each slot, at least one more slot for each region, even.
Yeah, I remember seeing the hashtag like make it 12 instead of 8, please, or something
Yeah,
along
because
those lines.
eight doesn't seem like a lot. Even if it was 10, it would make more sense because eight just seems like you would have to do a double elimination, and then it would have to be the top four, right? And then the top two. So
Yeah.
yeah,
But
format's
before
gonna be
we
pretty
end this
interesting.
episode off, because this was supposed to be a short episode,
Sure.
looking back at the bracket, thank you to our producer Delta for being amazing because I don't know how to produce and she does.
Oh, just barely. I wouldn't even call it that.
Delta's doing a great job, guys. Give her a round of applause. But we're ending it off with a discussion. What in the bracket surprised you the most?
Misfits taking that map for me. Like,
Yeah, I gotta say this.
more than Shopify winning it, I would say it was Misfits getting that map. I was super surprised.
I think for me it was a mixture of that. Like any moment where C9 did not just 13-0 or 13-2 a team, that was just shocking for me. Like I was just like every time they were like super close. Like when the other team got to double digits, I was just like the simulation's breaking. But yeah, seriously, that was my most like exciting moment there.
All right, Delta, what are your thoughts? We got Misfits.
For me, anytime Sanrio's and Ariana Grande Perfume were able to take a win kind of shocked me. I mean, taking maps off of Genji Black and I think it was Dart Monkeys that took out Exit, but still, like, the fact that we didn't get to see Exit or Genji Black or Misfits Black in the finals, or in the playoffs, it just shows you how scary the unsigned talent is, and so that's what I would choose for my pick.
Okay. I started laughing because you were like, anytime they were like able to take a map, so I thought,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. Also, I do want to say before we actually close this off, have you guys seen Ariana Grande's Perfume Twitter? Because I genuinely cannot take it. Whoever is posting those tweets is freaking hilarious.
I have not seen their Twitter, but now that you mention it, I will.
It's so funny. They posted like I think like somebody dancing and then they're like dancing on your grave after they like beat a team or something.
Oh no.
Oh my god.
Hold on.
That escalated quickly.
I need to
That's
look
crazy.
at that. Ariana Grande Perfume. Let's see if I can find this because I genuinely thought. Never mind. Apparently my internet stopped working. So whatever.
But Gompers, what was your big moment from this Game Changers?
My big moment, it was definitely the Misfits. It was definitely the Misfits. I'm actually going to send the tweet in if you would like to look at that Delta. It's fucking hilarious. I started laughing really bad. Get ready.
Oh no.
Oh.
I remember seeing this. I died inside.
Wait, you sent it to me?
Yeah, I sent in clips. It's in clips.
Oh, okay. One sec.
It's very entertaining. It had 111,000
What the?
views because it's just so good. And it has like the bass boosted too. What's going on?
Oh, I don't have volume on it. Oh, wow.
It's like
How the
oh.
I like how the Valorant symbol was like underwear initially, and then it's just like, yeah, I'm an alien dancing around. It's all good.
Wait, you're right. It did look like underwear. Oh my gosh.
Oh, to those listening on Spotify, you guys know the little dances you do, which like your arms like just holding up and down, left to right. That's what the alien's doing. Just this for for reference.
Hey, he's getting jiggy with it. All right,
Very.
we should end this off.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this episode. It was definitely challenging, but I actually genuinely enjoyed it. Watching back these clips, it's good for me to VOD review, and I think it's fun discussing with everyone here because we meme a little bit. I do a little bit of trolling, but I mean, if you guys want more episodes like this, please like this video if you're on YouTube, listen and download this video if you're on Spotify, or just really follow our Twitter. We have a Twitter page, and we'll be posting a little bit more information on there. But other than that, we'll see you guys next time.
Stay beautiful.